Welcome back. Joining me now, Janet Harris. She is the president and CEO of the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm well. It's always good to be here with you, Roby.
I'm just glad we got you off the mountain finally for a day. She's not on Petty Jean. She's in the studio today.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this initiative that you guys have embarked upon to advance civic engagement in Arkansas. It's based on some polling data that you've had. It's obviously based on news stories and things that you've seen going on. Kind of define the problem for me.
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying that the report, this Arkansas Civic Health Index report that we produced, which I'll talk about in a second, really has its roots in Governor Winthrop Rockefeller's farewell address to Arkansans 53 years ago. And he was full of, this idea about the promise and opportunity of our state. He was very hopeful about the future, but he reminded us in that farewell address that we have to work together in order to build the community that we hope for. And he said every citizen has a duty to be informed, to be thoughtfully concerned, and to participate in the search for solutions. And that's our mission at the Institute, and that's the work that we do. So we were curious, how well is Arkansas performing in our civic health and in those areas, and what can we do to strengthen it? And so that's really the impetus for this work.
What is kind of defined as civic engagement? It's voting, it's being registered to vote, but it's also perhaps
many other things.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So the National Conference on Citizenship, which is one of our partners in producing this report, defines civic engagement as the ability for communities to organize and solve problems. And so that does include voting and voter registration, but it also includes things like volunteering and charitable giving. It includes social connectedness. It includes how we become informed and where we get our news. It includes how well we trust other people. So there are a lot of measures of civic health.
Maybe serving in public office or even showing up to some of those public forums if you're not even elected.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are we good at anything in Arkansas? Are we bad at all of this? So.
It's a mixed bag. So I'll start with the bad news first, because I think there is a lot for us to build on. So I'll end with the good news. But the bad news is that we are 51st in voter turnout and voter registration, behind every other state and the District of Columbia. We're 49th in our trust of the federal government. We're 48th in our trust of other people. We're 47th in our ability or willingness to work together to do something for the benefit of the wider community. And we're 42nd in volunteering. So all of those areas are areas of opportunity for us.
We're way up there in charitable giving. It seems like that Arkansans charity would translate to more civic engagement to me.
You might think so, and we are doing well in charitable giving. That's part of the good news. We're also 9th in social connectedness. So we Arkansans report spending time with family and friends, even discussing politics with family and friends. And so we are a small state, and we are community minded. And we do rank well in charitable giving. A lot of that has to do with charitable giving to our churches, so it's not necessarily to broader public causes, but it still is an indicator of our willingness to show up for each other.
So what are you trying to do through dialogue, through forums, through other means? What's the goal? I mean, I know what the goal is. What are the action items that you're
That's what we're trying to discover. So I want to say, first of all, that we are very fortunate to have partners in the Clinton School of Public Service, Engage Arkansas, and the Central Arkansas Library System. We all collaborated to have this report produced so that Arkansans could see a baseline of our civic health. And then the job of the Institute really is to leverage civic organizations across the state and understand how we can maybe create some new pathways for engagement, because we know that the models of civic engagement, of being informed, being thoughtfully concerned, and participating in those search for solutions, they look very different today than they did 53 years ago.
Give me some examples of how someone could plug in today if they wanted to.
Well, the easiest way to plug into Civic Arkansas is to visit our website at rockefellerinstitute.org. There is a programs page for Civic Arkansas, and you can see and download a link to the report, so you can read the report and all of the data. And you can also sign up to be notified for our listening sessions. So we're hosting over the course of the next year listening sessions all over the state of Arkansas. And what we're asking is, what stands in the way of volunteering? What stands in the way of voting and registering to vote. What stands in the way of working together with your community? And our goal at the Institute is to help empower communities to solve their problems together, to come together and envision a future that they want to see for the place that they live, and to understand what their pathways are to get engaged and connected.
In this age of hyperpartisanship, which I know you are very observant of, how do you break those barriers down? How do you get someone that is diametrically opposed to someone else how do they find common ground? How do they agree on solving a problem that there's no way they're going to have the same viewpoints on?
Yeah, it takes time and intentionality. I mean, and that's probably not the answer that people want to hear, but that's what it takes. At the Institute, we, utilize our process, which we call the Rockefeller ethic, and we start with helping people understand what their shared common humanity is. And then we build from there to say it takes time to understand the viewpoint of another person and to be willing to be curious and learn and question. And at the end of the day, recognize that issues are very complex, right? They're not easily solved with a partisan soundbite. So as we peel away the layers of the onion for these issues, we're not always going to agree. That's part of our democracy. We just have to sit in the tension of talking to one another, even when we don't see the world the same way.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you're going to measure success of these listening sessions, but I would think what comes out of the listening sessions is where you're really going to measure. What are you hoping will come out of these listening sessions, and then how do you continue to measure this index?
Yeah, so we're learning from these listening sessions. There are some themes that are emerging already.
Give me a few ideas.
Yeah, so people are concerned about where Arkansans are getting their news. Most Arkansans...
This TV show. So.
Well, talk business and politics, of course. But where Arkansans are getting their news from, both, social media is what most people report as their news source. Another concern is for civics education, and not just at K-12, but all levels. What we're hearing from people is just that folks don't have enough information about how to get connected and engaged. So what we want to do is continue to learn about those barriers, and then leverage those of us who are working in these civic engagement organizations across the state to maybe try some new innovative pilot projects and models that can move the needle, because we want to issue a Civic Health Index report in another 2 years and see those numbers look a little bit better.
She's Janet Harris with the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute. She's doing the Lord's work for sure. So thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate you so much. So we're going to be back with more right after this.